What's happening, everyone? Bienvenidos. Welcome back to my channel. I don't know how I feel about this hair today. I've been wanting to do this video for a while now. As you guys know, I've been trying to focus more so on technique-driven or technique-specific videos versus full-length tutorials. Videos that I know will really help you guys improve your artistry, your skills, whether you're doing it on someone else or yourself. So for today's video, I'm super excited that Make Up For Ever wanted to partner with me yet again. They're such a great brand partner of mine because they just launched all new primers. And I've always said, to get the best result, you want to pair your favorite foundation with the same brand's primer. And as you guys know, I absolutely love Make Up For Ever Reboot foundation. This has been a staple for the past year or so now. I think it launched last year. And it just always looks like skin, always works. And sometimes I do want more so a pore minimizing airbrush finish, especially on the center of my face. I do have enlarged pores. I mean, who doesn't on the center of the face? If you don't, like, I applaud you. Are you even human? Because my nose in this area, forehead, it's where when I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror in really good light, I start picking at it. I know, it's just very oddly satisfying for me. So now that they have these primers and have such a variety, Hydra Booster, the first one, this is a 24-hour hydration and radiance primer. Next, we have the Pore Minimizer. This one instantly smooths and blurs texture, 24-hour pore minimizing effect. Next, we have Shine Control. This one is a 24-hour matte finish, absorbs oil and controls shine. Redness Corrector for fair to light skin with redness. 24-hour redness control and hydration, soothes skin. Fresh Brightener, fair to light skin with dullness and uneven skin tone. Dullness Eraser, light to medium skin with dullness and uneven tone. Tone Up Perfector, fair to light skin with sallowness. Yellowness Neutralizer, light to medium skin with discoloration and sallowness. Grayness Reducer, tan to deep skin with dullness and uneven tone. I'm clearly light to medium, so if you have a darker skin tone that's going to be brightening on me, it just shows up like a little orange, looks like blush on my skin, if you will. So I'm going to be sharing my best tips, advice, techniques on applying something like a pore minimizing primer with your foundation. If you guys are interested, just keep on watching. I have, over the past year, really have learned the power of smoothing out your pores, even if they aren't super enlarged or, you know, that visible. Adding a smoothing primer to this center area of the face really just smooths the skin out and gives you the ultimate beautiful airbrushed finish. And you just need the tiniest amount. That is the first thing I want to point out to all of you, is that you don't have to take several pumps of primer and just slather your face in it. I see that happening often, and I used to do it and then wonder why my end result just looked super heavy. My foundation, this is why for the longest time I didn't use primers. It was because I thought that my makeup just looked heavier with them, but that's because I was using so much product. So with the Pore Minimizer, you want to take the smallest amount, and section by section, you're going to add it to those areas with enlarged pores versus taking a giant glob and then covering your entire face in it. So I personally like to go section by section. It allows me to use a lot less product and really be mindful with my application so that I'm not overusing the product. But by going section by section, I'm really targeting the areas that need it and nowhere else. And what I like to do once I have applied it to each section is I take my sponge and then I just further press it in to make sure it's really sinking into the skin. And I just love that for a pore minimizing primer, it is so lightweight. So many of the pore minimizing primers that I've used in the past are like a heavy, kind of like putty-like heavy putty-like consistency, which adds to the heaviness, not only the feel, but also the look of it. So this just is such a nice thin light layer that does the trick without feeling heavy, and then just further aids in the finish, the overall look of the skin looking like skin, but flawless, poreless. Now when it comes to foundation application, this is also another really big tip, major tip that I want to share with all of you that really changed the finish I get when pairing a primer with a foundation. I'm obviously going to be using a Make Up For Ever foundation. I have always said, to get the best or the the most from your primers and your foundations. Pair the primer that goes with the foundation. If you've watched my videos, I've always said this. I feel like brands formulate primers to specifically go with their foundation. So if you can, pair the two together because they're gonna work together. It's guaranteed. You're not gonna get that pilling. You're not gonna get a situation where later on your foundation is just rolling off your face or sliding off your face because it didn't pair well with the primer. This is guaranteed to work. This is my not only favorite Makeup Forever foundation, but in general favorite foundation because it always looks good even on my worst skin days. The Makeup Forever Reboot foundation always looks like skin. Oh, it's so good. And then on top of this primer, it's just even better. I am going to apply the foundation by pressing it onto the skin. And the reason I do that when using a primer, especially a pore minimizing primer, is because the way I like to think of it in my head is the pore minimizing primer does have a different consistency than other primers, like a hydrating primer. And I feel like it wants to stay in place. It wants to stay nicely pressed on top of those enlarged pores. So when you go in with a brush or you're doing any sort of swiping and sweeping motion, you're kind of moving that pore minimizing primer from the area where you have kind of designated it to go. And by pressing it, you're just pressing the foundation on top of that primer, keeping it to that area and getting this nice poreless finish. Let me show you. Got really passionate about that. I'm taking my sponge and just working the foundation into the bottom of the sponge, and I'm just gonna start very lightly pressing it in. So I don't technically have to start where I added the primer. I just wanna start gently applying the foundation across the entire face because obviously when you pick it up off your hand, there's a ton of foundation concentrated into that sponge. So you don't wanna just press it all into one area. As you guys saw, I kind of went across the entire face. So I'm getting this nice even layer everywhere. And I'm also gonna apply it onto my eyelids. Oh, this foundation is so good. And I just have to zoom you guys on in, okay? So you guys can really take a look at the skin. I wanted to show you the skin before powder, bronzer, blush, and all that, so you can see what the foundation looks like on top of the primer, and I think it looks incredible. It looks like I'm wearing a full coverage, you know, doesn't show anything kind of foundation, and it's just this foundation over the primer looking like skin. So good. When it comes to concealer, I'm just gonna apply it like I normally would. Just glide it onto the skin. And you're probably wondering, why are you able to then, or how is this any different from using a brush to apply your foundation? This, you're gliding product on top of existing product. You're not blending or buffing. There's no bristles. This is just like a nice little doe foot applicator. So it's a little more gentle when being applied versus a buffing motion with a brush. But once you have it on there, I just like to take that sponge and again, just press it in. And this, by the way, is also the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer, another all-time fave. They just make really good, like, skin products that look like skin. They're known for that. Even when they had the Ultra HD, or they still have the Ultra HD foundation stick that's full coverage, that still looks like skin and full coverage. It's incredible. Something that you see me do all the time that I have yet to explain in detail, I'm about to explain, so listen up, okay? I often use my sponge, the same one I've been using this entire time. It's dirty, it's full of foundation. It is the same sponge I use to set with powder. To me, it just works the same way as a powder poof, but it almost grips the powder a little better because of that bit of moisture to it. And it doesn't change the consistency of the powder. It doesn't like do anything weird. I think there's like this weird like assumption that because it's like a moist sponge that already has foundation on it, it's gonna do something weird when you're applying powder to your skin, and it doesn't. And again, it further aids in not moving around that primer, foundation, concealer, bronzer. It's just going to press everything right on top of the skin and really set everything in place exactly where it is. So I take my sponge, I dip it into the powder, and And what I usually do is I tend to start tapping off the excess so I don't go in with too much across the entire face, and then I just start pressing it in like that. And this is when you're really gonna see that pore minimizing effect come into play, because once you add powder and mattify everything, you can really see the true texture, which in this case, whoop, look at that, is a really nice, smooth airbrush finish. One last look before I finish my makeup, because today's focus was on layering primers, foundation, and then I had to throw in the powder tip because it can really make or break your final look depending on how. I've seen people buff in their powder. Honestly, for me, it's just a nice spongy press-on application works the best versus buffing, especially if you have enlarged pores, because you kind of want everything to just stay in place and not further cause any more texture if your concern is already texture or enlarged pores, which will lead to texture. So yeah, there you guys have it. Enjoy, take a last look, and I'll be back to conclude this video. Makeup is done, which means that is a wrap for today's video. I hope you took away some useful information, whether it's a tip, trick, technique, or even, you know, got you guys into primer. I've been there before in the past, not a believer, scared to use them, and it wasn't until I found the right way to apply them and the right products that I fell in love with them and made them an essential step in my makeup routine, especially when I just want to look a little more flawless. Sometimes I'm in a rush and every day and I kind of skip steps, but when I want my makeup to look airbrushed and, you know, like I've been face-tuned in real life, primers are an essential and there's no need to fear them. As Nikki Tutorial says, it is a crime not to prime, and I really have learned that in the past year or two. So check them out. Available hopefully by the time this video is up, if not late January, $37, available in store at Sephora and Makeup Forever. To let them know I sent you. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video with anyone who you think might benefit from watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.